Good morning, dear friends, dear colleagues. Uh, I wish the best from Turkey to all of our colleagues in Egypt. Thanks to Professor Ahmed, Professor Basel, and of course our honorary President Hisham for this nice congress and very good collaboration between the ESGO and BGICC Congress. I believe this is one of the best cancer congress in the world, and I hope next year we will be again to come together and have a nice meeting, but face to face this time. So my topic today is related with the cervical cancer screening because there are big progress done during the last years. So this is the cervical cancer screening and where we are going now. Well, let's look at some few global numbers. We very well know that there's 500,000 new cases of cervical cancer globally, and with a 50% mortality. So half of these cases will die due to this cancer. The cervical cancer is very unique because we all know the mechanisms from A to Z almost. So it's almost 99% HPV related. So we have a very good primary prevention strategy like vaccine and secondary screening strategies, secondary prevention strategies. In other words, this is a cancer that can be actually eradicated if we can come together. However, if you look to the numbers within the last 10 years, there is no progress globally in the world. The new cases, deaths, the incidence did not change when you compare the 2008 to 2018 numbers. And again, if you look to the vaccination, yes, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, there are a lot of countries that have introduced the HPV vaccination, but still it is anyhow in the national program of more than 100 countries. And we target around 30% of the girls between 9 to 14 years, but the real vaccination rate is much, much, much lower compared to what we are planning. This is the same on cervical cancer screening. At the start point, WHO has did several analyses, and it's my pleasure to share with you. But as you can see, a screening average once in a lifetime is around 40% in the world, which decreases to around 13 to 15% in the developing countries in our region, which is very, very low and unacceptable. So globally, the numbers are not so nice. But do we have any global reaction? Yes, finally we did. This is our hero, WHO director, Dr. Tedros, and he launched a program. The launchment was done in November 17. And the program is triple strategy. So 90, 70, 90 so-called. What it clearly says, the vaccination of the girls, 90%, at least 2 times screening when you are 35 and 45, and the screening coverage around 70%, and 90% of the cases detected will be treated. So this triple strategy is targeted to be done globally in all around the world until 2030. In this respect, it's very important to understand that WHO has already lifted the pap smear and is moving the direction in the world to high-performance alternative screening tests, which is HPV Dna with or without triage, based on the infrastructure and your local conditions. Why WHO has insisted on the HPV Dna test? Well, this is the story of the pap smear, which is known to decrease the cancer incidence. However, if you look in the last 50th century, which in the last 5 decades we are using pap smear, it's only 12 countries that has a successful pap smear program. It has really big scientific problems, low sensitivity, very high false negative rates, low reproducibility. But however, the main problem in the world is the organizational, like as in Turkey, in Egypt, in all Middle East area. It's really very difficult and complex service to provide. Instead, the HPV DNA, just I want to underline that it's not something new. We have 20 years research behind. We have a lot of more than 200,000 people already randomized from different countries, Canada, USA, Italy, UK, Sweden, and even in India. So we have a very hard data and the follow-up data of 8 to 10 years of these ladies. And when we find that it's so sensitive compared to the pap smear, the sensitivity of pap smear is just around 50%, which is almost 2 times more with the HPV test, which is 96%. Especially in the developing countries where you just start the screening program, the higher sensitivity is much more important to detect the cancer. Of course, the specificity is some bit lower. That should be carefully organized. The two strategies that's suggested by WHO and by the prevention expert is first, do not screen below under age 30, because in this age group, a great majority of HPV infections are transient. So start it at age 30 and use some sorts of triage tests if you have some infrastructure. It may be genotyping, it may be reflexology, P16 staining, Ki67 staining, or methylation profile. But two things is important if you can do. Start at age 30 and do it with a triage test. Otherwise, you will refer a lot of ladies just due to transient HPV infection to the gynecologist and to the colposcopies. Should we do the two tests at the same time, or HPV alone is sufficient? And this is a meta-analysis giving that adding HPV only brings 2% advantage in detection of CIN3 plus, which is very low. So the message is very clear that HPV alone is sufficient. But again, you have to be careful for triage in order to prevent excess colposcopy. This is the UK data, and as you can see, HPV positivity sometimes is too high, especially under age 30. These randomized trials that I have told you, including more than 200,000 patients, clearly demonstrate that in the first round, the HPV screening detects much more CIN3 or cancer. However, there is also this amount of large colposcopy referral due to transient CIN2 lesions. But if you look to all these trials, the results are consistently the same, which is in the second round, you detect much less amount of CIN2. So actually, HPV increased the colposcopy, especially in the first round. And in the second round, you usually have a neutral balance. Again, this is the Canadian trial, and there we have the Finland trial very recently this year published. These two trials also revealed the same patterns with the old trials, and that in the second round, the cumulative colposcopy referral rates are the same. HPV, in addition to high sensitivity, very lower specificity, has a very nice negative predictivity. As you can see, the negative pap smear and the negative HPV DNA, the risk of CIN3 is almost 5 times lesser in the HPV DNA. And this year, we had published the meta-analysis and the Canadian focal decade cohort. As you can see, the probability of the CIN3 is very low, 0.1 per 1,000 years, so that you can even increase the screening interval at least 5 years to 6 to 7 or to 8 years. Based on all these trials, the guidelines have been updated currently, including WHO, FDA, American societies. So all the societies currently suggest HPV alone with possible triage tests. Additionally, HPV DNA has some organizational advantages. It's objective, it's automated, it can be centralized with a manpower advantage, longer screening intervals, and you can do even these tests in the self-exams, self-kits, urine. There are meta-analyses and a lot of trials, and today we very well know that self-sampling is equally good as the clinician collected samples. You also have a very good validated expert has published last year in Lancet that it's a point of care test. So you're now in the GP and you can have this test. Very recently, also WHO is almost approving this colposcopy. Colposcopy is another problem because many gynecologists are not trained and it's very, very subjective. And there is a new device, which is so-called the mobile ODT EVA systems. So they joined their power with the Samsung Galaxy, and they did a very nice deep learning computer application. So it's automated visual evaluation, and the data shows that the concordance rate is around 95% when you compare this device with the experienced colposcopies. So a big problem in the elimination program will also be solved with these artificial intelligence working colposcopy devices, and you can easily use it in the developing countries. So this is you can do on-site HPV, and at the same time the visual inspection, evaluation, and just treat or just call the patient to the next round. Is it cost effective? Well, day by day, a lot of publications has been published. It's both cost effective in not only high income countries, but also in the developing countries, which is very important. And day by day, the number of the companies is increasing, and the HPV kits become cheaper, and the screening interval, one in each 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years, is also making it very, very cost effective. And as you see, very recent map of the world is now going HPV one to one, and the converting the screening system to Hpv Dna. But you have to be careful. Not all HPV kits can be used for screening. There are some criteria that you can use in your country. I don't want to go into details of these criteria, but you can use the Meyer criteria, Belgian protocol, Walhuda's protocol. And then as Go experts, we are now updating these Meyer criteria by 2020, which is coming up in a few months to be published. Very frequently asked questions, HPV DNA or HPV mRNA. There are 3 or 4 companies who is selling HPV mRNA and suggest that they are more specific, but at least they have the same sensitivity. We are doing a meta-analysis on that, and it will be also published in a few months. And as you can see again here, the Optima, Oncotec, and the Piratec, among these 3 companies, especially Optima, has the similar sensitivity and similar specificity compared to the DNA test. So what I mean is that currently we cannot prioritize mRNA to be a better test than DNA, but we can say that they have a similar performance. But for Optima, we also need some more data for long-term negative predictivity that should be underlined. Our current discussion is on triage, as I told you, either to triage with histology or genotyping or immunostaining, viral loads or methylation. We don't know which is the best. You can see different triage scenarios. In Belgium and Netherlands, you do reflexology and 2 times. In other countries, you suggest reflexology followed by a repeat HPV. And in USA, in Turkey, what we do is the genotyping and refer the patient to colposcopy if she is 16 or 18 positive. Or we also use pap smear for the other HPVs, and if the pap smear is abnormal for the HPVs other than 16 and 18, then you again refer to colposcopy. So it depends, but we are trying to find the best answer of these of these triage scenarios again in a meta-analysis, and we publish it soon. And what's coming up is the new, where we go, is the new United States screening program, which is personalized. So as you can see, in this new upcoming screening programs, what we do is we ask the patient's age, vaccination status, previous pap smear, previous HPV screenings results, and the genotypes. And then the computer will give you a risk of immediate CI entry and the risk of CI entry in 3 and 5 years. And based on these risk thresholds, you refer the patients either to colposcopy or not. And it's usually 5% in the United States threshold. If the immediate CINT risk is 5%, then you refer the patient. But this is usually 20%, the threshold for colposcopy in Europe. But what's coming up, it's very clear that we will start individualized CINT risk, individualized cancer screening programs. And this is the meta-analysis that I have told you already. What is the best strategy? We did not still publish it, but it's coming up. You can use one-time triage or two-time triage, as you will see, but dual staining plus pap smear followed by a pap smear that's done in Netherlands seems one of the best triage tests to be used. All these papers are on the pipeline, my dear friends, and I will share it with you in a very soon, months. Just as a country example, I have shown these slides many times, but you can find all these publications and videos from these links just to encourage my colleagues that we can do. This is the Turkish program that's targeting 15 million ladies, which is just Istanbul, larger than 19 European countries. Lack of manpower, lack of awareness, frequent positional changes are the common problems in Middle East, Turkey, Egypt, every of our countries. But we were the first country to convert the system into HPV DNA through GPs. And as I told you, HPV plus genotyping and pap smears is the triage test that we have used. I don't want to show you and bother you with some slides, but this is the laboratory that you remember, just 30 people to screen all the ladies in the country with using one software. And of course, this is, you don't need to depend on the manpower, because at the end, it's a machine. If more ladies do come, you can just easily put another machine. And it's easy also to do this in Egypt. Just to show you how it's going on very quickly, these are the samples coming, 10,000 from all the countries to this laboratory. Once they come to the laboratory, we have a program that's following step by step the all laboratory processes. In case of a problem, it becomes red, and you do the necessary preventive measures in the laboratory. And these are the samples coming from the GPs, pap smears, and HPV DNA. So they are barcoded. One patient has both pap smear and HPV DNA, and it's impossible with this software to mix one sample of a patient with another one. We don't look to the pap smears. They will be wait, but we will first look to these HPV DNAs. So these are the ones that would be analyzed first, and the pap smears will wait until the HPV results will be given. And now we start HPV DNA. As you can see, our results. Here is the HPV DNA. We have 6 machines. 6 machines has a capacity of 10,000 per day, which is so sufficient. And once the lady, these are the machines that we are using. And just you can see, just 3 people here in the laboratory for the whole country. Once the patient is found to be HPV positive, then we will look for her pap smear, and we will look for her HPV genotypes too, and then send the patients the results. This is another thing that I have prepared in my country, which is eHPV. It's very important to invite the ladies and to follow up them. So this cell phone program that's free of charge for Apple and Android, you can easily download. It's something that the patient can learn about HPV, can learn about vaccine, can get an appointment and follow up these appointments. And this is what happened in our country. As you can see, 10 times more cancer screening around the whole country. So, dear friends, we have a lot of opportunities and we have a lot of challenges. We have a power of data. We have excellent primary medicine infrastructure coming from our history. We have a common language. We have a historical United States. We are good. What we need is organization, leadershipness to resolve the financial problems, to fight with the doctor lobbies, and we need some awareness in our patients. Thank you so much, my dear friends, again for this opportunity that you have provided to me. Thanks to all BGICC Congress, and see you next year.